Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand here today on March 11th, 35 days away from April 15th, the tax filing deadline for 2024. This is certainly not a joyful, happy event, but it is important to acknowledge that the IRS recently reported that 85% of Americans pay their taxes on time. For most others, extensions are requested due to paperwork delays, illness, or other exigencies, which is proof that the vast majority of Americans understand their civic and legal duty to file a return. 2 weeks ago, the IRS announced an astonishing new initiative to chase down 125,000 high-income individuals who, get this, have failed to even file a tax return since 2017. That's right. 125,000 cases have been opened on individuals with income over $400,000 per year that filed no returns in the last 6 years. 25,000 of those cases involve individuals with income over $1 million per year. It's hard to believe that anyone with that level of income would have the chutzpah to refuse to file a return and think they would get away with it. But in fact, the IRS has reported that in all these cases, it received third-party information such as W-2 forms from employers and 1099 forms from financial institutions that clearly indicate these people received income in these ranges, but never filed their own return, and of course never paid legally required tax. How is it possible that such flagrant, arrogant behavior went unnoticed, you might ask? It's because Congress, most notably Republican majorities in Congress, that for decades have willfully starved the IRS of staff and technology to track such freeloaders. Here's the record. From 1994 to 2021, the workforce of the IRS has been cut by Republicans in Washington by 1/3. At the same time, America's population has grown by 1/3. As a result of defunding the IRS has been able to run its non-filer program only sporadically since 2016. Because of this, tax cheats have gotten bolder and more brazen. The good news is the IRS Commissioner Danny Werfel reported 2 weeks ago, because of the Inflation Reduction Act, which passed in the last Democratic-controlled Congress without a single Republican vote, the IRS now has more staff and technology to pursue such blatant tax cheats. Werfel estimates that this non-filer initiative alone is focused on financial activity of more than $100 billion. Since this effort started 2 weeks ago, it's unclear exactly how much tax and penalty will be recovered, but given that the failure to file penalties are 5% per month on tax owed, conservative estimates are in the hundreds of millions of dollars will be recovered for past years and even more for future compliance. I want to be clear. This effort is not auditing the content of taxpayer returns. These are cases of high-income earners who had the gall not even to file a return. Mr. Speaker, this behavior is an insult to hardworking fellow Americans who obey the law and fulfill their civic duty, and at the end of the day, bear the financial cost of this despicable misconduct. Speaking of the middle class, Werfel made it clear that this new auditing effort on non-filers is aimed at high-income tax cheats. That is in accordance with the Treasury directive by Secretary Janet Yellen that there would be no new enhanced IRS auditing of middle-class Americans. And that makes sense. The National Bureau of Economic Research estimates that audits aimed at the top 10% of Americans generate $12 of revenue for every $1 spent. That proportion declines dramatically with lower income filers. It is a good thing that the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act is now at least partially restoring IRS's capacity to ensure that all of the rich actually file the returns and pay their fair share of taxes. And it is a good thing that Democrats have blocked Republicans' efforts to once again cripple the IRS's funding over the last year and a half. Independent analysts, such as the Congressional Budget Office, have confirmed that this effort to track down scofflaws will actually cut the deficit. Indeed, the IRS announced that the Inflation Reduction Act effort will bring in $561 billion new dollars from 2024 to 2034. For the 85% of Americans who work hard and play by the rules, teachers, cops, nurses, factory workers, office workers, retirees, military service members, to name just a few, who pay their taxes with each paycheck, making sure that the wealthy file their returns and pay too, is fundamental to a fair and just society. The Inflation Reduction Act is doing exactly that. So as this April 15th approaches, the message is now clear for the well-to-do delinquents. The free ride is over. You have to obey the law and file your return just like everyone else. This is not too much to ask. No more freeloaders. I yield back.